Okay, I got it. Jeez, I haven't worn you since like the beginning of the year. I completely forgot about these stupid shades. I kind of used these because it was kind of my gimmick to kind of have me stand out. It's one of those things, it's like, oh, I recognize that character because he's wearing the red stupid stunner shades. I chose it because it's red, like a lobster. So, anyway, my semester is winding down, and thank God, I can't wait for winter break. And this has been the last week that all my projects are due, which I'm kind of happy. That means the next 2 weeks before finals, I can at least catch a breath and actually study and not work on scripts or papers. So this week, I actually have some funny stories for you. These stories are about me, but they're more of like my experience. These experiences, well, let's just say that if you are offended or you get disgusted when people talk about poop, fecal matter, yeah, then this whole video is going to be all about it. But if this doesn't bother you, then feel free to keep listening in. So, where to begin? I have IBS. If you don't know what IBS, it's irritable bowel syndrome, and it affects. It's kind of common. I've had it ever since I was a little kid. It ranges from constipation to diarrhea to actually a mixture of both. Where in my occurrence is mine's diarrhea. So pretty much my topic is like, where were you when diarrhea hits? I know it sounds really crazy, but I've had fun experiences like for either close calls or just throughout wacky experiences when I had to, relieve myself. So the funniest one I'm going to begin is, when was this? I think it was 6 years ago? 7 years ago. I'm trying to remember the exact date, but all I can remember, I was a young teenager when it happened. Anyway, so what happened was, my family was coming back from Galveston. We stayed at a beach house, and I remember that morning we had a good decent meal, but I remember the eggs tasted kind of funny because the egg, I asked like, what kind of eggs are these? These taste kind of, different. So my dad's like, oh, well, we're going to try organic stuff for a while. This is when the organic food was just a big boom. Everyone decided to eat organic food, and it was like, oh, this is so healthy, even though we had to pay $3 extra for them. So I remember, this one time I was traveling back with my family from a beach house in Galveston, and from where I lived, it was a 2-hour drive from the beach house to our home in Houston. And about a third of the way home, I just remember I just had this massive pain inside my gut. I'm trying to find a way to describe what this pain felt like. Imagine having Megatron and the Hulk having a cage fight inside your intestines. Bonus, they're wearing armor covered in spikes. That's how excruciating it felt. So we were on 45 when it, struck me. How do I put it this way? I talked to some of my friends, and they're just like, man, I've been sent through class, or I had to go through my whole work shift having to poo, but, I don't like pooing in public places, so I hold it until I get home. How long were you at work? Oh, man, my work shift was like 6 hours. I'm just like, you held your movement for 6 hours. What magic is that? See, what happens to me is that whenever I have an attack, my intestines are like, you got 5 minutes, buddy, before I unleash the gates. It's coming out one way or another. So back to my story, we're stuck on the highway, and my dad's like, Clark Griswold. You tell him to get pulled over. He's like, nope, we're making great progress. We're making good time. Here I am in the backseat like, Dad, please let me over. I gotta go poo. I gotta grab my mouth. I'm just belligerent by this time because I'm literally just ready to shove my butt out the window and just let everything go. But with a stroke of luck, there was an exit to get off of 45, and we saw 2 restaurants off of the exit. And if I can remember, it was a Mexican restaurant. I forgot the name. I think it was La Hacienda. I'm not too sure. And then a Fuddruckers. So we pull into this parking lot right next to the Mexican food restaurants, and then my dad realizes, like, oh, the Mexican food restaurant's closed. So better back up and pull into the Fuddruckers parking lot because it was 2 separate parking lots. But I was sitting there and was like, there's no time! So I quickly get out of the car, and I'm running across, the parking lot, and then what separates what separates the two restaurants from the Mexican food and the Fuddruckers is there's that stupid crappy bush that's covered in like thorns. I mean, I know those things are like, these bushes are great. You don't have to take care of them. They're always green. You don't have to water them, but Christ, they suck when you hit them. So I had to hurdle over these spiky bushes, and let me tell you, it takes some skill to hold in your butt cheeks while hurdling over 5 feet of these thorny bushes. So I hop the bushes and I run inside Fuddruckers. So I find the little restroom. They're hiding behind this little corner where like the arcade is. I'm just really one of those times where I wish they just label where the restrooms are. So I'm running in and I'm just looking through the bathroom and it's just like, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I kick myself inside the restroom. And lo and behold, it's a very small bathroom. There's like 1 urinal, and then there's 2 stalls. It's like, that's great. There's 2 stalls. It's no biggie. Well, see, there's the problem. Those 2 stalls were preoccupied by 2 stupid little kids. And I'm just running over there, and I'm just like doing the little dance. I'm like, I have to really crap. And they're just sitting there like giggling, like, playing with the toilet, or like tapping in the windows, like, oh, look at this, I'm gonna flush the toilet. And so I just kick the door. I'm like, let me in! You know how obnoxious little brats are. And just like, no. And just like, argh! And I'm sitting there like thinking, either I'm gonna crawl under this stall, yank the kid and throw him over the stall and do my business. No, wait, that would get me in trouble. Well, there's 1 urinal there, and I just, let my business in there. No, that'd be horrible for the person to clean up. Well, there is the trash can. No, that's just as bad. And then it finally dawned upon me. There's another restroom. So this was actually the first time I've never really been into another woman's restroom, but, when you have an emergency, you kind of just don't care. And so I cursed at the kids, and then I bolted out of the men's restroom, and I just went headfirst into the women's restroom. And as soon as I got in there, there's like 3 women like right at the faucets and the mirror, and they're just like powdering their faces, putting on makeup. So as soon as I ran in, I didn't give any second. I just looked at them, and then I just completely ran right inside one of the open stalls. Thank God. So I just went in there, threw my shorts off, and I was about to do my business. And I kid you not, as soon as I was starting to let myself go, I've never seen women evacuate a restroom as fast as they could. They just dropped everything. They had so much makeup out, and then they just looked like they just shoved it all in there, and then they left. And so, after relieving myself, after having this burden inside of me, it was the greatest feeling ever, because I thought I really wasn't going to make it. But the funniest part was that one woman stayed, and she was a very nice, very southern woman. She just comes walking up to my stall, and she's like, hey sweetie, you okay? You alright in there? And I'm just sighing, and I'm just I'm just like sighing, and I'm just sitting there like, oh God, I'm sorry. And I'm sitting there thinking like, yeah, I'm okay. I just had a really close call. I'm sorry I came into the woman's restroom. And so she made me feel so much better, because she was like, that's okay, hon, we've all been there. Hope you feel better. So that was my experience at the Fuddruckers. I pooed inside a woman's restroom. Hooray. The second one was back in 2008, if I can remember. So back in 2008, my family decided we were going to spend New Year's at Walt Disney World. It was a great idea. So we stayed at the Swan and Dolphin Resort, and that's right next to the Yacht and Beach Club, the Boardwalk, and that's right next to Epcot as well. And so we spend all our time at Epcot. It's fun to be there. So I just remember walking back from Epcot by myself, because I just wanted to get back home. I wanted to change before we went to a fancy restaurant there. And I just remember, walking my way back home. And I remember passing up some restrooms because I felt like, do I need to go to the bathroom? No. And I should have, because those were the only bathrooms for like a good 2-mile walk. And so while walking back to my, hotel, it just struck me again. And I'm sitting there like, oh. And this is bad. You can tell when you're starting to like drench in sweat, then you know you need to get home. So while I was kind of doing the hollow back, I'm like, dude, this is another close call. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Like, I was running right past the Yacht and Beach Club, but I cannot remember for the life of me where the restroom is in there. So while I was running back, I was looking around, and in a desperate attempt, I saw, this family, riding those like bike carriages. They sit a family of 5 or 6. It's like a long seat, and you just, it looks almost like a golf cart, except you ride it as a bike. Okay, so that thing. So it's a family of 4. It's a dad, a mom, and then like 2 little kids. I think a boy and girl. So they're just sitting there, like, you know, enjoying the scenery, and I just walk up to them, and I'm just like, hey, I know this seems very crazy, but I really need to get back to my hotel. It's over by the Swan and Dolphin, and I'm having kind of an emergency. Is it alright if I hitch a ride in your empty seat in the back? And of course, the mother looks at me like I look like I'm a criminal. She's like, who is this guy? This is Disney World. You don't talk about poo here. And the kids are just like making this face like I'm some goddamn demon. And then the husband's just like, sure, hop into the back, we'll drive you over there. So I hop in the back, I'm like, oh god, thanks. And I start riding back there. The kids are like, he's gonna poo his pants. And so the wife just keeps looking back like I'm gonna rob them in Disney. And she's just like looking back at me. And the entire time I'm riding back, the husband's just like, he couldn't control himself because, you know, what would you do if just some random kid comes up to you and is like, hey sir, I'm about to crap my pants. Can I please hitch a ride with you so I can take a quick ride back to my hotel room? And so I make it back. I jump off their little bike thing, and I'm just like waving at them like, thank you, bye, I gotta run. So I'm running back to my hotel, and thank God I made it. And that was another funny story to tell. Another funny story I have is back again when I was a young teenager. I was hanging out with some of my neighborhood friends, and we went to this random island out in Galveston. I would tell you exactly where it's at, but I can't remember for the life of me. It's just some random island we came across. So anyway, we went out there and we decided, like, you know, we're tired of fishing, and so while we let my dad and some of my friends' dads that came with us, you know, they wanted to fish as well. So we jumped out and we just decided to hike the entire island. I remember we trekked it before, and it's like 30 minutes all the way around. Lo and behold, the grace of poo hits me again. And I just remember we were 15 minutes down the island. So that means if I had to go to the bathroom, I would have had to go on 15 minutes back, and then it takes another 13 to 15 minutes back home. And so I couldn't even hold it for 30 minutes. So while I'm sitting there, like, kind of just like, I gotta dig myself a hole. So I tell my friends to just run up ahead. Don't look back. So I found a nice little cove on that little island, and there's a bunch of debris that washes up from, you know, just trash that just washes up on this island. And I found a nice, perfectly little plastic container box. So I just sit there and I just you know, do my business inside the box. And I'm just like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this box? So I'm just like carrying a plastic box with just my poo in it. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to leave it on this island. What if another person comes trekking through here and is like, well, we got some nice trash over here. We got a nice leftover beer bottle. We got some used wrappers. We got some candy wrappers. We got some soda cans. And we got this plastic container. What is that? Oh, my dear stars, there's poop in there. Oh, my. So I grabbed the container and I kind of went outside of the water to where there's not any currents pushing the water in. And I kind of pushed the container out into the ocean. And so I see this little plastic container kind of floating away from the island. It's just venturing out into the ocean. I'm just like, wonder what's happening when some boat just drives, like, that's not any better. Some boat's just gonna drive by. I was like, what is that? What is that? It's a little white container. And it's like, oh my stars, there's poop in there. Quick, get the kids. We're getting out of here. No fishing today. So I meet up back up with my friends, and they're all giggling. They're like, hey, did you pinch a loaf? And I'm just like, yeah, I did. And it's right over there. See it? It's floating down the ocean. And they're just sitting there and like, that's what is that? And so when I pointed out where the plastic container was floating off into the ocean, we see this giant barge coming. So this thing was a pretty good far away, and we saw where the box was going, and the barge was going as well, and it was going inside the barge's path, and we're just sitting there like, oh no. It's gonna hit the barge. And so we just sat there like it was the best damn thing ever. We were just saying like, hit it, hit it, hit it. So we just see, after like 3 minutes of watching this barge coming closer, we just see this tiny little plastic container just floating by, and this barge just swallows up the little container. I'm pretty sure it did nothing to the barge. We just thought it was funny that just the little bedpan decided to float out of the ocean, and then it just gets hit by a barge. I hope they didn't stain the barge at all. And so the reason why I brought this story up is because, to tell you the truth, I am the most uninteresting person to like talk to. And if I talk to you about like my poo, suddenly it's funny. I have funny, interesting stories about me having to crap myself. Like, that's what makes me great. No matter how crappy my stories are, my stories can be about crap and it can be interesting. So that makes me just feel so much better that, like, even if there's nothing to talk about, even just talking about crap is important to someone else.